This week on Ace on the House.
Went to my 10-year reunion. Ray peed on me.
I don't really recall that, by the way.
We were standing at the urinals, and it was about three-quarters of the way in. As it was winding down, and you turned over 90 degrees, and you pissed on my leg. And then I said, hey, man, come on now, man, I'm wearing a suit. And you went like, hey, man, old times, man. And I was like, well, okay. Old times.
Let's go get a beer.
I mean, that's what you do. I guess, whatever you did in high school, that's what you got to do now, right?
Check out an all-new episode of Ace on the House this Saturday, or visit aceonthehouse.com, only from Corolla Digital. This is Corolla Digital.
Hello, my little candy corn flavored Oreos. What you didn't see was some confusion between Gary and me right now because he was trying to tell me to start talking, but I thought he was joking. Gary, what's up with your confusing hand gestures?
It's late. It's dry hand humor.
It's true. Your hand was sarcastic. Your hand was very sarcastic. Anyway, enough of that. Before the show officially starts, I just wanted to say a few words. First of all, I want to give a big thank you to listener Jeff for sending in the Alison Rosen is Your New Best Friend posters. I love them. Gary loves them. And the next time I do a live show, the audience will love them. And I feel like listeners right now are loving them. If they could imagine Alison Rosen is Your New Best Friend poster, but really big.
Yeah, you can check it out on Instagram, and I'd like to also thank Jeff for sending us the high-quality file that he created for us to print those, so that if we ever want to print stuff again, we can. So thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. And actually, I want to thank everyone. I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking that I need to take a moment to let everyone know that when you guys email me or tweet me or write things on the Facebook wall or just in any way let me know how much the show means to you, that means a lot to me. And I've received some really, really nice emails, and I just want to say thank you. And thank you for listening and telling your friends. And also thank you for leaving comments on iTunes. I believe we have a couple iTunes comment of the week.
Alison wants your iTunes comments. Alison wants them, yes she does. Please leave her some iTunes comments and don't forget to click 5 stars.
All right, the first iTunes comment of the week comes from McAndrew, and that's his username on iTunes, and the title is Alison Stole My Best Friend. Via Adam Carolla, via me and my wife started listening to this.
I think that's via Adam Carolla, via me, my wife.
Ah, yes, there's an inconsistent use of commas here.
Asshole here.
My mistake. Via Adam Carolla, via me, my wife started listening to this podcast, and now I've lost my best friend to Alison Rosen. Granted, Alison deserves high praise, but stealing my wife is a step too far. On top of that, now my wife realized...
Wait, what was going on there? Some capitalization?
Well, on is capitalized, but then nothing else.
Oh,
so
okay.
I didn't know how to...
I'm not on top of his wife.
I didn't know what inflection to use. On top of that, now my wife realizes all my best jokes and anecdotes are indeed stolen from Alison. What comes around goes around. Nevertheless, if you haven't listened to this talented on-air comedian, you have lost out on a chunk of your life.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Is that his name?
Mick Andrew. MCC Andrew.
Thank you, McAndrew, and I'm sorry for stealing your wife, but I'm glad that someone's stealing my jokes, and I'm glad you guys are listening. And thanks, Gary. Sorry for all the ribbing. Sorry for the dry hand humor.
No, I think that was my doing right there.
Mm-hmm.
We have one more iTunes comment of the week this week, and it is by Vabub42. That's VABUBB42. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And it is titled Queen of the Long-Form Interview. Alison Rosen has really taken over the reins from Adam Carolla for the long-form interview. I love the topic sombrero and other little bits which always seem to throw guests for a loop and get very candid responses from. I love this show and really look forward to it every week. Miss Rosen is raw, honest, intelligent, and funny. What more could you want?
Some would say that we hand select these just because I want to have smoke blown up my ass at the beginning of the show. It's true.
And as you'll learn next week, not very easy.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, we can cut that out, but you and Andrew WK talk about how to blow smoke up your ass.
Oh, I forgot that. No, it's okay. It's a teaser. I forgot that we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that episode, I'll say this well in advance so you can plan your meals. You're not going to want to be snacking on anything while listening to the Andrew WK episode. It was pretty disgusting. In fact, I felt like as the interview went on, we were losing more and more listeners until finally, near the end, a part that was really fairly inoffensive compared to some of the earlier stuff is what actually nearly turned my stomach. And I kind of dry heaved just a tiny bit, which is probably what other people were doing, at the beginning. This episode is not like that. This episode is with a delightful comedian named Jamie Lee, whom I enjoyed talking to, and I dare say I loved. I loved her. Gary, you loved her. We loved her.
She was awesome.
Yeah. You know what else is awesome? The new Squarespace. Let's say you are designing a website or redesigning a website, and if you have ever done this in the past, years ago perhaps, you had to do coding and you had to do all sorts of stuff, and you were probably staying up all night and your eyes were rimmed and they were red, and you would click on things and then you'd be like, God damn it, what, the photo is running into the text and I can't stand this. Or maybe you were actually really proficient at it, in which case you're another breed of human being, and I admire you. But if you want to make a website and you don't want it to be a kind of pulling out your hair experience, you need the new Squarespace, because they have all sorts of cool templates that look great and work well, and you can drag and drop things so you can see exactly where it's going to go. And it automatically, Gary, you probably know the terminology for this more than I do, but automatically the website that you create will look good on a phone, it'll look good on an iPad.
Right, so it'll rescale for whatever device you're on, and it'll make it so that it looks optimized and it looks like it was built for whatever device it was, because there's nothing worse than spending a lot of time building a website and then somebody goes to it from their iPhone and they think you're unprofessional because it doesn't look very good on that particular device.
Right, because everything's in a list.
But yeah, so it's really intuitive and it's got the drag and drop features are awesome, but it also does have the capability that if you are one of those people who knows how to code very well, like that doesn't preclude you on Squarespace. You can still go back in and get under the hood and mess around with their templates and customize them yourself. So it's a great solution for a beginner all the way up to an advanced coder.
That's right. Just earlier today, I was looking at Twitter, and someone was singing the praises of Squarespace, and I wanted to retweet them, and then I thought, wait a minute, does that link have my code in it, or does it have their code in it? And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to talk about it. So for a free trial, you guys, go to squarespace.com/bestfriend. Sign up for a free account. No credit card needed. Just try it out and start building your website. And then if you decide to purchase it, use the offer code BESTFRIEND9. That's BestFriend9, because it's the 9th month right now. And get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, which includes monthly and annual plans. And don't forget, you get free domain registration with an annual plan subscription. That's squarespace.com/bestfriend, and use the offer code BestFriend9. By the way, current Squarespace customers can convert their accounts and content to the new Squarespace whenever they choose to, or they can keep their site in the current Squarespace code. And one more sponsor-related announcement. I just want to ask you guys, oftentimes people say to me, how can I help the show? And here's a way that you can help the show, and it doesn't even cost anything. One of my favorite sponsors, GoToMeeting. If you sign up for a free GoToMeeting account, and it's absolutely free, you get a free trial for 30 days, and that actually will help this show out quite a bit, because I love them as a sponsor, and they obviously want I want them to realize that sponsoring this show is in their best interest, just like I want you guys to realize that using GoToMeeting, signing up for the free trial is in your best interest, and by that I mean it's also in my best. It's in our best interest, and it's a great product. So you can do that by going to gotomeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use the promo code Alison. Okay, I think it's time to start the episode. I love you guys, and just keep hanging in there and doing what you're doing, because it's working. Here's the episode.
Alison Rosen is your new best friend. Alison, with her the good times never end. Alison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Alison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone, hi, hello, it's me, Alison Rosen, your new best friend. Welcome to another episode of Alison Rosen is your new best friend. My guest today is comedian and writer Jamie Lee. Hello, Jamie.
Hi, Alison.
So I thought that we met for the first time the other night, actually, at UCB, because I was going to do, or I was leaving after doing Doug Loves Movies, and you were there to do Comedy Bang Bang, right?
Right.
But then when I was doing my Googling, I discovered that you and I were both in the same article in Marie Claire years ago.
Oh,
it was
my
that late night war
gosh.
thing.
Yeah.
Remember that? We both had
Yeah.
a joke in there, which means that we must know, we must both know Marie. I'm just kidding. I had a friend who worked there. I mean, along with me being like an influential voice in comedy that would make them reach out to me. Also, my good friend worked there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Weird thing about that, I actually was apartment hunting around that time, and I responded to an ad on Craigslist. And
Corinne?
Yeah.
That's my friend. Did you look at her apartment?
Gosh,
This
I
is interesting
didn't.
to like two people who are listening.
I know. I didn't end up looking at it because I found another place right before I was supposed to go see her place. And I was like, I'm just going to take this.
I lived near
That is so
her.
funny.
You and I could have been neighbors many years ago.
Oh, because you live next to Corinne.
I lived like a block away from her.
How funny.
Well, it's a small world. And
Really
so,
small world.
Just to bring the listeners up to speed on who you are and where you are, you're in LA currently.
Yes.
You live in New York. You are from Dallas. You went to
Yeah.
University of Texas, Austin.
Yes, in Austin.
Okay. Don't they have like a big bell? Are
They have
famous for-
a big tower.
I knew they had something.
Yeah,
big.
they have a big tower.
And you are currently or you just wrote on Pete Holmes' pilot.
Yes.
So, like, is that done now?
It is done. Yeah, we taped 3 separate episodes that could potentially stand on their own, but the idea right now is to maybe chop it up and make one like super episode.
Okay.
The best of all the different moments from the different shows.
And you do stand up and you do writing.
I do.
Is
yeah.
one your focus more?
Well, stand-up catapulted everything. I started in stand-up in New York, doing open mics and, really getting up on stage a lot and just focusing on stand-up. I mean, there's kind of this... I don't know, I kind of feel like in New York, there really isn't any industry, even though there is definitely more than like, hey, I started in Ohio. But I really felt like it was a good place to kind of bounce around town and get up at different places like bars and they have shows everywhere.
They
I mean,
do.
they really have like a big alternative scene, so you don't have to just perform in a club. You can go to some bar that's like on 4th Street in the East Village and they have like a back room behind another back room and you do 5 minutes there. So I really feel like I got my chops comedically
Now, see,
in New York.
On the Adam Carolla show, we were just talking to Mike Birbiglia, and he was saying there's a lot of names that I'm going to drop, but I'm sort of I'm like one level removed from the dropping because I'm dropping names that Mike Birbiglia dropped. He
In
said,
comedy, name dropping, it doesn't really exist to me. I'm sure to other people it does, but I'm like, oh no, that's just another guy in comedy. Yeah, you know what
Thank
I mean?
you.
It's not like you're like, I was hanging out with Brad Pitt the other day. No big deal.
I wish. I need to be in a different circle so that then I can drop that name. Anyway, he was saying that the advice Jim Gaffigan gave him was whatever you do, don't start out in New York doing stand-up because you don't ever want to perform before you're really good because those, like your one bad 15-minute set will haunt you.
Yeah.
And yet you're talking about you got your start in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely heard that a lot when I was there, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have started when I was in college in Austin or when I was living in Dallas. Maybe like I should have been a high school open micer. But I think the reality was that I got a job right out of college at Comedy Central. I was working in their press department.
Did you know that you wanted to do comedy at that point?
I think deep down I knew, but I never had the confidence at that point to really say, oh, okay, I'm going to get up on stage and make this a career. Like I just kind of was like, oh, I really like comedy and I really like writing. So, I can write press releases about comedy and that'll suffice. And
It's everyone's dream.
yeah, because everyone wants to write a sick press release. I took that job, and then I was actually handling all of the stand-up for the network. I was handling press for, at the time, Premium Blend, which is now canceled, and then became Live at Gotham, all the Comedy Central Presents, and all the one-hour specials. So I was watching a lot of comedy. So it was kind of just like hitting me in the face every day, like stand-up, stand-up, stand-up. And then finally I was like, oh, maybe we could give this a go.
And how did it go at the beginning?
I mean, shitty. Not good. I think what's funny though is you're so excited to make people laugh that even though even if it takes, like, let's say you're telling a joke, it's supposed to pay off pretty quickly. Like, you should get to the punchline as quick as possible for the audience's sake. They want to laugh. But I think when you first start, you could take 2 minutes to get to the point. And even though it took 2 minutes, you're just focused on the fact that you eventually got that laugh. So you think you're doing great. And then you slowly realize, like, oh, I super do not have this figured out yet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the thing about, I only did a very small amount of stand-up, and I just realized I love performing, and I just prefer things that are a little looser. Like, to me, the idea of getting up, and I know that stand-up can be very loose.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
being alone on stage is not as fun for me as sort of doing, being on stage with other people.
Absolutely. I just took an improv class back in New York, and it was so fun. It was like the closest thing I've come to, like, summer camp as an adult. I was like, this is the best. We're all laughing and helping each other and yes-anding, and it was just like a big party on stage.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't necessarily feel that with stand-up, and actually it made me kind of. It didn't make me, it didn't make me feel like antagonistic towards stand-up, but I definitely was like, oh, I get why people do improv. This is, like, really fun.
Mm-hmm. And what I realized, though, after my brief bout with stand-up, is that there's so many things that reveal that you're an amateur, so many
true.
hacky topics.
Absolutely.
That at the time, I didn't realize how much that telegraphs, like, where you are in the process.
Mm-hmm. Topics, it could be hacky, but it could also be like, oh, you're talking about, like, observations. You're not, like, getting to the core
What's
of
your
yourself.
point of view?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then also, I received so much advice from so many different people, but I was bombarded with it. It was like, oh, you're a female comedian, don't ever do jokes about dating. And it's like, I don't, why? Because that's what every female comedian does. And frankly, if this is going to sound self-congratulatory, but someone actually told this to me. Like, when you're complaining about being single, it doesn't ring true. And I'm like, but I am single. Thank you. In a weird way, that's a compliment, but I am. At the time I was, but anyway. Do you feel like, are there special rules as a female stand-up?
I think, to me, the biggest rule is to never call yourself a female stand-up and to just play ball. Mm-hmm. Like, to focus on what interests you, how do you like to tell a joke? Like, for me personally, and I don't even know if I should talk about this. I guess.
Oh, sure you should.
Well, lately I've been struggling with, I really like writing jokey jokes. Like, I really love to write a good joke. And it usually starts, my premises are all true, and then I take them in a pretty absurd direction, I would say. And I know I've had people be like, you got to open up. You got to really let them in. And I'm like, yeah, but this kind of writing comes very naturally to me, and I really enjoy it. Like, it excites me to write this way. So what was my point? Oh, just that I really don't know what my point was.
I think you were really starting to say that people are pushing you in the direction of you have to open up more, whereas you like to go absurd.
Yeah, I do, and I feel like I do share my. It's interesting because I've had people be like, you need to let people in, but I've also had people who have come up and been like, your perspective is really clear, and I think it's interesting. I think that you can be vulnerable in a lot of ways, and that's not to say that I don't agree with the people who are like, you need to open up. I do, and I'm getting better at it as I go along. But I think that you can express yourself in a lot of different ways and communicate who you are as a person in a lot of different ways. So that's why I think when it comes to advice, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, obviously. But also, I've talked about dating before, and I've had guys come up afterwards and be like, that's a great joke. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good, I believe in it. That's why I told it. It got a good response. I'll probably keep it for that reason. We're not going to throw it out.
Yeah.
But I think if you're being honest about being single or, whatever aspect of dating or, being a woman, whatever, as long as you're tapping into something that's true, I think it'll always be funny.
And I also had a manager guy say to me, that you need to see, the advice wasn't like, you, Alison, I've been charting what you're doing in your career and here's advice. It was more like, here's the, like, beginner starter pack of comedy. Here's what you should know. That was the kind of how the tone. But it was like, you need to break yourself of the idea of thinking that if a joke gets laughs, that you should be doing it. It's like, isn't that what we're here for, basically?
Yeah.
I mean, I get the nuance of what he's saying.
Sure, absolutely.
But geez, I don't know. It kind of discouraged all of that stuff. And I probably just shouldn't have availed myself of so much advice. I should have just kept doing it if I wanted to stay doing that. But it almost discouraged me because I'm like, I'm bombarded with a whole bunch of rules. This is not going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like you can see someone go up that you've never seen before, and they could be talking about something that I could hear in the back of my head someone else being like, oh, it's so hack. And it's like, yeah, but if they give their unique spin on it, it's never going to be hack.
Right.
It's just not. All topics have been exhausted to a degree.
Yeah.
So I think that you just have to really trust yourself in giving your perspective on whatever it is, even if it feels like it's a really general subject matter. Like, still go for it. If it means something to you, that will come across, I think, in your jokes.
Did you grow up in a funny household?
Yeah, I did. My parents are funny. They are funny. They fought a lot when I was a kid. They're still together.
I have parents who fought a lot and are still together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it makes you crazy.
It makes you nuts.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
Did you get the stomach churning? Oh
God,
the
yeah.
world is not safe. They're yelling at each other feeling
Absolutely.
when you hear them yelling
all the time. And
Yeah.
then I saw Dr. Phil episode when I was in college. I got really into Dr. Phil my freshman year. It was my boyfriend because I didn't have one. But
Your boyfriend was a doctor.
yeah, I know, right? I scored. Cha-ching. Yeah, Dr. Phil I watched a lot, and I remember there was an episode where he just point blank he's talking to these two parents, and he's like, you got to stop yelling in front of your kids. You don't know how it makes them feel, but it makes them feel horrible. And I was like, yes, Dr.
It's like being an ant in an ant farm and having someone shake it.
Yeah. I mean, and my parents, I lived in this house. They live in the same house. Very thin walls, and thin walls not just within the house, but I could hear them in the backyard. They would go in the backyard to yell, and it was all my mom. My dad's like this, like, oh,
so the neighbors
whatever
could
you
hear?
want. I don't think it was. Yeah, I mean, actually, they may have heard. But yeah, they would go in the backyard because they thought that was better to just take it outside.
Right.
And I could hear everything. I mean, just as bad. And yeah, it was really bad. I talked to my mom about it. I'm like, yeah, that was awful
What
growing
did she
up.
say?
She's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have yelled so much. But she, yeah, she's an odd lady. She has like a lot of like anger. She's not an angry person. If you met her, you would never know this. But she has a lot of anger, unresolved anger.
Did she yell at you as well? And do you have siblings?
Yeah. No, I don't. I'm an only child.
Oh, so it's just you to soak up
She's
all
a
the
hothead.
yelling. Okay.
She is like heart of gold. Like, it's never coming from a place of like belittling. It was never like that. They were always very supportive. They always pushed me to like be really artistic and like follow my dream. Like, all that was great. So that's good because that stuff matters a lot. But like if I did bad on like a homework assignment, my mom would like scream at me. And I was like, yeah, it sucks already for me. Like, you don't have to yell at me to make me feel like I'm not a bad kid who's like, oh, well, screw that. Like, I got an F, so what? I was like, no, it sucks. I don't want to get an F. Like, that's the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, you're already shaming
Oh,
yourself.
you feel terrible. And she would yell, and I think the reason is because when she was growing up, she really didn't care about school, and then she never went to college, and I think she really regrets not going to college. So I think it was just this sort of like, what's the word? Like reverse psychology.
Kind
like
of overcompensating.
Overcompensation. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you get where it's coming from when you're older, but when you're a kid, you're like, calm down. Like, who needs to yell like that?
And your dad was not a yeller?
Not at
though?
all. Still isn't. Not at all. I've heard my dad raise his voice maybe like 5 times in my life.
So what was their fighting like then?
They're fighting. Well, they work together, and
What do they
that's
do?
They had a concert promoting business called 462 Concerts in Dallas, and they owned music venues and promoted shows, which was a very
That's so cool.
It was
Yeah.
so cool. Like, looking back, I'm like, oh, that was my parents had a fun job. So they had this business together that they started actually before my mom got pregnant with me. And they just fought about work. It was a lot of like my dad and this other guy, they were the like two presidents of the company. My mom was a partner in the company, but not on the same level that they were. And she was doing like graphics and stuff for them. And I think she never really felt like as important or as valued as the other two people. So I think that just, and you know what, even if I think it would have been messy no matter what. It was messy. It was just really messy. And then there was like drugs also. That was the whole thing. Again, I'm making my parents sound like psychotic people. They're like very docile and nice and normal, but there were some like,
but they were on
episodes. But they were super doped up. No, my dad was doing cocaine at shows, like, because it was the music business. And
you had to.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you're not a cool kid. So, yeah, he was doing that, and my mom was, like, really against it. And she was like, oh, well, if Jamie never finds out, like, it's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but I guess I'll just, like, deal with it. And then I did find out.
How?
He was, like, twitching one morning.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
No, please. I have tried to write jokes about it. Like, I'm still working on it, because I think it could be comedy gold if I could just get the nugget right. So he was like twitching and like just like sort of like shaking his neck a lot, and I was like, what is wrong with you? You're being weird. And then my mom came out and was like, you want to know what's wrong with him?
Oh no.
And I was like, oh God, here comes Linda. That is my mom. And and she just told me what happened and that it had been going on a while, and then it was just kind of messy.
In front of him.
Oh yeah, he got kicked out of the house. He went to live with his brother for a few days. Then he slowly came crawling back, and then it was just awkward for a while. Like he tried to like buy me a lot of stuff to like try to smooth everything over. It was so awkward.
Like what? What did he buy you?
We went to Rampage at the mall.
Oh, is that kind of like Hot Topic?
No, Rampage was like sort of an upscale Contempo casuals. When Contempo went out, Rampage came in.
I used to like Contempo.
Yeah,
okay.
great store.
Yeah.
$1 scrunchies, I'll never forget.
I know. And like
I think you could get like 5 for $1. I think it was like a really great deal.
No, it was like more. It was like
way more than you need.
A million.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. But Rampage was like slightly nicer.
Okay.
So I remember taking me to Rampage and like bought me like a bunch of stuff, and I was like, this is still weird. You can't do this. But
how old were you? Did I just ask
I was
that?
14.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 14. Yeah. It was really kind of crazy. It was a crazy time. But I mean, also compared to what other kids have to endure, not so crazy.
See, perhaps you have a similar thing that I had, which is on the surface, the family looks pretty good and pretty normal. And I do have 2 parents who are still married, and they love me and they're very supportive. All of that,
Sure.
It's true.
Yeah.
However, there's also all sorts of like crazy psychological stuff that went down that has turned me into the sort of, I'd say I'm decently adjusted,
Sure.
but I definitely have all of my issues, and I've been through therapy, and it's like, but I feel like I remember talking to other people who had the same patterns that I did a while ago, which was, always dating the wrong kind of guy and settling for things that really like women who had better self-esteem would have laughed at, and I'd be like, no, I think this can work for me. It's like, and so the question was like, what happened to make you this fucked up, essentially?
Yeah.
And the other women, it would be like, oh, well, my dad left when I was 2, or this, or this, or this, or my parents split up, or just sort of garden variety things that fuck you up. And I didn't have, my things were all more hidden. It took a little more insight, I think, to sort of tease them out. And it sounds like I don't know you well enough to know what your issues are, if you have issues.
Oh, let's get
We're
into
gonna
it,
find
though.
out, though. Yeah,
I'm loving this.
But perhaps it might be because I hear you kind of equivocating a bit, being like, it was pretty, but other people had it worse. But obviously, still, this stuff did affect you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's interesting that you mentioned the guy thing about you sort of endure or you did endure, like guys who, weren't treating you the way they should have treated you. And were you saying that about you?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to make
sure.
sure I understood.
Yeah, guys who weren't treating me the way I didn't understand that when a guy likes you, wants to date you, eventually loves you, is devoted to you, there is a certain way that he will behave.
Right.
Instead, I just...
Well, there's a lot of duping. Sorry, go ahead. Finish, because I want to comment
there's duping,
on that.
but there's also, like, when a guy is not calling you, it's all that he's just not that into you kind of stuff.
It is, but I think it can manifest itself in a lot of different ways.
But the duping thing, actually, the ones that I would always fall for were the ones that came on strong and would seduce me.
Yep, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, but I feel like the reason I would fall for that is because on some level, like even if you're not conscious of it, you just feel this is not a true of this. He's not really there. He's not really available.
Right.
I think if he were, it would have scared me off. But there's something so attractive about the guy that is not truly available, who's going to pay intense attention to you for a little while.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best and the worst, but it's the best. I had a very similar experience where a guy was coming on very strong and kind of, he was like the perfect guy in the way he came on. I was like, man, this guy, every day I received a text from him like before noon, which is like what every girl wants in those like first 2 weeks. You like want consistency. You want to know that he's not going to bail.
And know these things
and
about you.
it was nonstop like that for about 5 days. So really very little time. And then on the 6th day, the text came at like 1. And the day after that, it was like 3. And then by the next day, it was like 5. And then the next day, he just didn't text me. And I was like, this kid is like a joke. Like something is wrong, because he was so into it. And then as soon as I sort of started to like bite the bait, he was like, yeah, I was just interested in the chase.
He admitted that, or he acted that way?
He acted that way. It was pure action. And of course, I brought it up and he's like, no, it's not it. I'm just really like messed up with relationships. And I'm like, ay. But it was good because it was actually the first time that I have been like, this isn't for me. And I ended it. I mean, not that there was much to end. We only dated for like a month. Maybe not even a month, like 3 weeks. And it was weird for like 2 of those weeks. But I ended it and I was like, this is super not for me. And then he actually, like a couple months later, wrote me an email and was like, I really messed up. Like, I am now in a very good headspace, and it wasn't you, it was totally me, and I really like you, and like had kind of like pursued, but now I'm in a good, happy relationship, which is nice. But
did you date that guy again though?
Never.
No.
Nope.
What was going on? Because see, my antenna would say, if I had an antenna that spoke, like a stick with a little mouth at the end, it would be kind of disgusting looking, but still so useful at times like this.
Maybe like the Jack-in-the-Box ball that was popular for a while, but with a functioning mouth.
Okay.
That's how I visualize it. So it's pretty cute, actually.
It would say there was someone else in his life at that time. Is that right?
I think he had a couple of people. I remember one time I was at his house. He had gone to a dinner, and he was like, let's hang out after the dinner. It was like a work dinner. He was like, let's hang out after the dinner. So I went over to his place just to like watch TV. We didn't even do anything. We were just sitting there watching TV, and his phone kept buzzing and he wouldn't check it. And I'm like,
suspicious.
It was suspicious, because you would just be like, oh, hold on, and like look at your phone and then put it away.
Yeah.
Like it's not crime to get a text message, but if you have something to hide, you're not going to want to check the text message. So I knew something. I knew he was like playing a bunch of different girls, and which is fine. Again, just not for me. Like I maybe there's a personality who can do that, who's like, I don't feel like committing, I want to sort of date around, and I was just not in that place mentally.
I don't know that I really think there are women who
I actually
can do
don't
that.
either, but
Okay.
I you don't want to say absolutely not, because there probably is like one.
Yeah.
She's like in New Zealand, in rural New Zealand.
She's the world's biggest slut.
Yeah, and she's like, I have
empowered.
great parents, and I'm a millionaire, and
I just like sex.
Just like sex. Yeah.
I was actually just thinking about this.
In the booth, just a nod. Do you have something on the New Zealand
Isn't that
champion?
Paris Hilton?
Oh, maybe.
What you guys described is pretty much Paris Hilton, as far as I can tell.
You don't
Rich,
think that she gets emotionally involved? Does she have emotions?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I was actually...
She's like, what's New Zealand?
What's
Wait,
emotion?
Where is that? Is that the 52nd state?
I was just thinking about this earlier today. I don't know why, but what I was thinking that as a female, the minute you sleep with someone, even if it's someone that you didn't think you liked before, it just like elevates them, and all of a sudden they have this power where they can hurt you now.
Well,
I think
that's true. I think that's true, but I think that, I think that's true unless I had a rebound situation where I genuinely didn't like the person, and I thought maybe the sex would like make us a little closer, and I was still like, absolutely not. Like, this guy is not for me.
When did you realize you didn't like him though?
Pretty
When you
early
broke up?
on. Yeah, I was just kind of like feeling lonely and needy, and so I remember I was like, oh, I'll just like make out with him. I was like, we'll just go, I was like at a bar
Just
after a
because
show.
he's familiar
Yeah,
and around?
yeah, exactly. I was like, let's, I'm feeling, I was just got out of a relationship. I had never even done the rebound thing, so I was really almost just like sort of going through the motions of like, this is how they do it on television. Like, you find a guy and then you make out with them and then everything feels fine. And so I tried to do that, and I made out with him, and it was awful. He was like not even a good kisser, and I was like, well, that's the end of that. I don't know what I was thinking. That was so stupid. And then I kept dating him. I just kept dating him.
Why?
I think I was being pathetic. But I knew I was being pathetic, and instead of shitting on myself and being like, you are scum, you are better than this, pick yourself up, like, deal with being alone, I was just like, no, I think I'm just gonna like be pathetic for a while and date this guy. And it was so awful because I was like using him. It was awful.
Was he developing feelings all over again?
Yeah, but he was also a nightmare to date. Like, it was just bad. It was like I knew we had no future, which also made it kind of okay because I was like, oh, this feels very temporary for me. But as soon as I realized he was like really developing feelings, because initially he wasn't either. He was also like kind of rebounding from his previous whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, we'll just have fun. And it wasn't fun. It ended up being very messy. And
Well, let's talk. Okay, you dated Pete Holmes.
I did.
And in all the stories, I'm like, is that Pete? Is that Pete? Is that Pete?
No, that
So
was
let's
the
just-
rebound from Pete.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
so
some
what
context.
happened with Pete?
With Pete,
How did you guys meet?
Pete and I met through comedy. I saw him at a bunch of shows. We were on shows together in New York. And we had always like been friendly and stuff. And then we were at a party once, and that's where we both really did not want to be at the party.
Was he Fat Pete or Thin Pete at
Fat
this point?
Pete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not like the most fat Pete,
But a larger
so,
Pete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he slimmed down a lot when he came to Los Angeles, and he's like a very healthy, well-adjusted, great person who's doing yoga, and he's like,
I know.
he's
I
way
didn't
healthier
even
than me. It's like
realize
insane.
it. He's healthier than everyone.
He's
now.
healthier than everyone.
I didn't even realize it until I was watching a stand-up clip of his, and then I was like, "Oh, I forgot that there used to be more to Pete."
Yeah,
quite a bit more.
Right. We met at a party and we started hanging out, and we dated for about a year. And I remember when we first started dating, I remember even saying to my mom that it felt too good to be true. Like, he was a really good boyfriend. Like, he
Devoted,
very
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very devoted. And I remember, he told me that he used to be married, which he talks about a lot on his podcast. You Made It Weird, funny podcast. And I remember feeling kind of awkward about that, just sort of not knowing what happened and, how he was feeling in relation to that ending. And, was it a good thing? Was he mourning it? He didn't really open up about it too much. And I think that probably had to do with me I didn't really want to know. Like, I wasn't.
How long had he been single at that point?
Well, he dated someone after he broke up with her, and then I think this was like 6 months after they broke up. So he was kind of in this like serial monogamy situation, and I didn't realize that, or I think maybe I did, but I just didn't want to acknowledge it because it was really pleasant. Like, we had a lot of fun, and I think it's the reason we're such great friends. Like, we're very compatible as friends, like incredibly compatible. He makes me laugh so hard. We have a lot of fun together. We hang out a lot. But I think in a relationship, it just didn't work.
Why?
I think, I don't even really know. I think it just didn't work. Like, we weren't really communicating properly. I was also in a place where, like, I didn't necessarily have my shit together the way he did, and I was trying to get my shit together. I had quit my job, and I was trying to focus more on stand-up and, like, get things off the ground a little bit. And so my life was a little more in flux, and that was probably a lot for him to deal with. And, it just kind of didn't add up, and it's definitely for the best because we broke up, and then I was single for a while, and now I'm in a new relationship, and I'm really, really happy, and it really does work, and we do communicate and fight, and it's nice. Like, we're very open with each other, and it's good. It's what my other relationships have lacked. So yeah.
And when you and Pete broke up, was that hard for you though?
Awful. It was awful because it wasn't awful in that I thought we were the perfect match. I mean,
was it serious in that year?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you wanted it to work.
I did want it to work. I did want it to work at the time. I also, with Pete, and he would admit this too, Pete was very serious very quickly. Like, we instantly were boyfriend-girlfriend. There was no grace period of like, let's just test the waters. It was hopping right into being boyfriend, girlfriend.
I feel like there's certain guys who there's enough women in their life that they know what it is that a bad boyfriend does, and they're going to be like the king of the good boyfriends.
Yeah.
So they're instantly on it with the good boyfriendness. And it's in my experience, at least, but it's not about you. It's not about their devotion to you as a girlfriend. It's just like who they're trying to be.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's accurate.
So that's how he was.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was the situation. Also because, he was married, so he jumped into this. Is he again has said this on his podcast. He's like, I had never dated. I just knew how to be monogamous in a long-term situation. And so for me, wanting that, I was like, this is the match because he wants what I want. And then you come to realize that no, he has stuff to work through and I have stuff to work through, and together is not how we're going to do that. And I was going to tell you one other thing, and I forgot because I have a bad memory.
No, it's because I talked over it.
No, I'm being super yappy.
You just keep yapping.
Well, I was going to say one other thing about breaking up. The reason, when we broke up, the reason it was so devastating, and we actually make a joke about this in the pilot, is because Pete broke up with me very suddenly over the phone. When I was living in New York and he was in Los Angeles for pilot season. And I had, zero clue that it was coming. Ugh. So that was why it was so devastating. It's not that I look back and I'm like, oh, we could have saved it. It's like, no, it definitely needed to end. And it probably did end in the best possible way because it really was like ripping off a Band-Aid. I was blindsided and devastated and crushed. But I realized as I sort of slowly started to like pick up the pieces and, be single again, it really did reveal itself to me that like I am way better off without him. And it took a while, ego-wise. I was like, oh, you just ripped out my heart. But then my heart was like, no. Yes, it hurts right now, but you'll come to realize that it's way better for the both of you.
So you had no idea?
No idea.
That everyone who is sort of insecure but in what they think is a good relationship
it's
right
scary.
now is going,
and I have a lot of trust. I do have I had trust issues after Pete, big time, because I had never. My college boyfriend was really my only other boyfriend in my life, and we were very open and honest and communicative, and we're still friends. And I just didn't know that people did that. I was like, wait, what?
How long had he been wanting
like
to?
6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. He like wanted to end it and just didn't know what to do, and he held a lot of like anger in towards me. And it's interesting, he told me later, again, now that we're friends, this is all like very on the table, but he was like, yeah, you would do something like you'd be upset that I checked my phone at dinner and then you would do it, and I would be like, oh, that's a weird double standard, but I would never like tell you that it upset me. I would just like hold it in. So like tiny little things like that he never expressed, so it just like built up inside of him, and he was like boiling on the inside.
Why wouldn't he express that?
I think he just didn't know how. Like, I think he came from a family where that stuff wasn't expressed. You know, it was kind of, as they say in the Mormon fundamentalist community, they call it keeping sweet. Like, you kind of just never complain. You just have to, like, you know.
I want to be in that community.
Oh, yeah. I read this
Not
whole
really.
book about it. I'm, like, obsessed.
Wait, but is that what he is?
He's not
Mormon.
No, he's not Mormon.
But
He
you're
just has a
obsessed.
Mormon look.
But you're obsessed with that.
I am upset. I think the Mormon fundamentalist stuff is very interesting, like the Warren Jeffs case and that kind of stuff. But anyways, there is a term in their community called keeping it sweet, and I think that there was a little bit of that in Pete, and he's doing a really good job and has done a really awesome job of like kind of recognizing that that's not the best way to be, especially like in a healthy relationship. You kind of have to have a proper dose of not Linda Lee yelling, but you know, you got to talk about stuff because a lot of stuff is going to bother you. And some of it is really irrational. Some of it is like you being crazy, but you still have to say it to have the other person be like, you're being crazy.
Yes, that's what I've been learning lately, because I can identify with Pete with not wanting to bring up I don't know if this is how it was for him, but to me what seems like these like stupid little things, because I don't want to be I want to be the cool girlfriend who's not going to nag about this and is not going to mind this and is not going to like it.
Oh yeah.
You know, I
I can totally
like
relate to that.
I don't ever want to be jealous. I don't ever want to be petty. I don't ever want to be da-da-da. Like, oh, you want to go out with the guys and have sex with other women? That's fine. Not
Right.
really.
No, I know,
exaggerating, but like I want
100%.
Yeah, I think maybe because I have a lot of guy friends, and so I've had to sort of figure out where is it okay. I mean, first of all, what do I share and what do I not share? But more than that, like in what ways should I be speaking up about something? Because maybe there is something where, yeah, it's normal that wouldn't necessarily be cool for you,
right?
I mean, it hasn't. Like, my boyfriend's great. So there hasn't really been a lot of stuff like that. But in general, I do struggle with figuring out. I feel like for some people, it's just like, I feel this, so I'm going to say it.
Right.
And for me, it's like,
Picking
I feel this,
battles.
so I'm going to think about it a long time, and then I'm going to stuff it down, and then it's going to come up, and then it's going to be painful for me. And like, I'm trying to streamline that, but it is hard.
It's so hard, and I also struggle with that big time. Like, I definitely, with my boyfriend, he'll call me out. He'll be like, you're doing it again. Like, I know something's wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, no. And I mean, it's so cliche to be like, it's the whole, like, I'm fine thing. I don't
I'm just
necessarily,
tired.
I never do I'm fine, but I definitely get snippy. And then he's like, what's going on? Like, what is really happening underneath to cause you to be so curt with me? And then, you know, we end up talking about it. But with my boyfriend, I mean, I have, like, accused him of random stuff. Like, nothing like cheating or anything major. Just little things. Like, you know, I wanted him to come out here to visit, and I was like, he doesn't care enough to see me. And he's like, do you really think that's what it is? And he's like, no, I'm just trying to be smart. He's actually coming out here next month. And it's like, he's being very logical, and I'm the one who's like, oh, right, I have like residual trust issues where I'm like, oh, you're just over it, but you're not telling me. And it's like,
And when you say that, is that what you're actually thinking? Like, have you convinced yourself that that's the truth?
I think it is. I think it's partially the truth. I think I'm a little. There is some like just residual, you know, kind of. I think it's also just in my friend. I have a friend who's going through a similar situation. Her boyfriend is a lot like my boyfriend. The way she describes him, he's just very much like a dude's dude, and a lot of times she's like, "Oh, I think you know, I don't know. He's been really distant today. I think he's, you know, maybe something's up." And I'm like, you know, no, he's just being a guy. I guarantee he's not even thinking about appearing distant. He doesn't even have that capacity of to be like malicious in the girl way. We can be
We're on all those
premeditated.
levels.
Yeah, we're the ones who are like I mean, I hate to be like girls are crazy, but I mean, there is that we're better at
calibrate like
we're
that.
better at like mind fucking.
Yeah.
And a lot of like guys are actually like really pure and innocent. So anything they do, and then my boyfriend especially, that like, you know, seems premeditated or like directed at you specifically, it's like they're not even aware that they're hurting you. So that's why you gotta talk. You have to communicate.
I actually, Daniel, that's my boyfriend, and I were talking recently, and what he was saying basically is we were watching Bachelor Pad. Do you watch that show ever?
I haven't.
Well, it's just a bunch of conniving, awful people in a house.
Okay.
But it's entertaining.
Yeah, sure.
But he was
Sounds
saying,
great.
yeah, we were talking about this one guy on there who was like playing two women. And Daniel was saying, I love that he's making a case for this being good for culture, this show. He's like, it's good that this is on there because women need to see that this is how guys can be. And then we were like somehow just talking about how men don't really play games. Actually, that is completely undercutting what I'm saying was on Bachelor Pad.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's this idea at the beginning that both sexes play games. But men are pretty clear. If they like you, they act a certain way. And if they don't like you, they act a certain way. But they'll still fuck you.
Yeah.
But the whole game playing thing of like, he's acting like he's not into me, but he actually is into me. I don't think guys really do that.
No, I don't. I don't think that. I absolutely agree with you.
I think we might do that.
I think we do that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our problems with guys is really problems we have with ourselves and maybe, we're just projecting onto them.
We're thinking that they're approaching a situation the same way we are.
Right. And also, and then we also have like residual issues from a few bad seeds, and then we just project it on the guys who are like really good. Like my boyfriend's like such a good dude.
How'd you guys meet?
We actually met doing a podcast. We did a podcast in Los Angeles. Been together I guess about a year and a half. Yeah, we've been together about a year and a half, and we met doing a little podcast. He went on as a character. He's an improviser.
What podcast?
And it was called, I don't actually think it exists anymore, but it was really fun. It was called Pass the Carrots.
Yes, I don't know that one.
Yeah, and it was kind of, I guess it was kind of like Comedy Bang Bang. They had people, interviewed comedians, but also people went on as characters and everybody kind of interacted. So, yeah, it was fun. Anyways, but yeah, he's just a good dude. And it's like, oh, that's really nice. He's like a really good person. Even when he's like being jerky, you're like, yeah, but the heart is there.
Is good, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Gary, you were nodding when we were talking about all of our thoughts about men and women.
Yeah, I think I still have whiplash.
I know.
Chime in.
Yeah, what do you think about all this?
I think you guys were pretty much dead on. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to every rule, so you can't generalize about a whole sex, one way or the other.
The girl in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
By and large, I think you're right. I mean, I think most guys are pretty much on the surface and don't. What you guys were saying about when Jamie said he's just a guy, he doesn't understand, he doesn't have the capacity to understand or to be, conniving like that and to be that underhanded like that. That doesn't. She's right. That doesn't play into my mind. Normally.
Have you been accused of things by women where you're like, what? I don't even what?
Yes,
I'm
probably 80% of the times I'm accused of something. That's how I feel.
Right.
What kind of things are we talking about?
Just I'll be accused of. I've been accused once of being upset about something and hiding it to shield the other person's feelings.
Oh, God, women are the worst.
Which is
That's
definitely
what I do.
It's definitely something I do.
I've totally done that. I hate myself right now.
That's happened. I definitely do shield people who I care about. I shield their feelings if I can. But it was just so ridiculous. It was so made up in my mind. Once it was said out loud, it was just I felt like, okay, how do I get out of this situation? Because I feel like I'm sitting in a room with an absolute lunatic. And there's no way that I'm going to get out of this.
Aha, you are upset.
Yeah.
That's where it goes.
Exactly.
See, yeah, if there's one thing I hate, it's being accused of feeling something that I'm not actually feeling.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially the person calling you a liar.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, my boyfriend, we've been apart for the past month because I've been out here, and it's hard. And I find myself getting mad at him because I miss him, which is a new sensation. It doesn't manifest itself as oh, I miss you. It's more I'm angry that I can't physically see you.
What do you think that is?
I have no idea, and I've tried to articulate it to my boyfriend, and he's like, I guess I get that, but that's kind of weird. And I'm like, it is weird. I agree.
Is it a you're supposed to be here for me feeling?
I think it's kind
of leftover abandonment thing.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I wanted him to come out here, and he he's not going to because we're both coming out here next month. And so we're like planning a trip around that. And that's like really lovely. And he's being practical and like smart and normal. And I'm like just being absurd and acting like a weirdo. And I admit it. So I think at least he has that. At least he's like, okay, she's not delusional here.
Yeah.
But I really don't know where it comes from that I feel angry when I can't see him. Because I'm not needy, really. I mean, I have moments of neediness, definitely, like everybody else. But I mean, you know, I came out here by myself. I'm working out here. I travel for comedy sometimes. And, you know, I'm kind of used to having to set my own schedule and be on my own.
Well, I can relate to that feeling of someone's giving you like a perfectly rational explanation for something and you hear it and you're aware of it, but inside you're like, but I'm still mad about it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it. I don't want it to be that way. If you let me, you would. But it's like a 2-year-old.
It is. It's like toddler mentality because you can't justify it. You're going totally based on like, but my gut says it's uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, just calm down and be an adult about it. Like, you are not a toddler. You have the ability to rationalize your thoughts and your actions. Like, just take charge. But of course, I'm like, but I can't.
See, I struggle with what kind of discomfort is good. Like, what is supposed to be uncomfortable? Because a lot of emotional situations in a relationship, if healthy relationships are new for you, are uncomfortable. But then again, like, discomfort can be a sign that things are off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place on that one.
No, I think that's true. I like that you say that you think about like what's a proper dose of like feeling uncomfortable. You know, that's a really good point in general, just with life. Like, it's not always supposed to be super pleasant.
No.
All of the time. There's no need to be like, oh, my needs have to be met now, always.
I remember feeling like, years ago, like, but I'm in a relationship. Why should I ever have to feel alone?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And because you're part of a couple doesn't mean that now someone takes care of everything for you.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You have to be like pretty emotionally solid to be in a relationship.
It's
Otherwise,
crazy that so many people are in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does current boyfriend feel about the fact that you are working on Pete's show?
I think he's just really happy for me. I think he's. Oh yeah, sorry. I was looking down at a freckle on my leg that is new. Yeah.
Does someone text you a freckle?
Yeah. Right. No. Someone. Yeah. Getting some serious freck texts. But yeah, he's really happy that that I did the show and that it might go, and it's a great show. I really believe in this show.
How did the tapings go?
They went really well.
I had tickets and was really bummed I had to miss it for work.
Oh man, we're so mad at you.
Damn it, Adam.
No.
Corolla.
Yeah, I thought they went great. It's going to be sort of a late night show, but also sort of a new take on late night. Of course, every show is like, it's a new take on what already exists. But it's going to have some sketches, and it's not all going to be sitting at a desk. It'll be a little more interactive than that. And there will be a guest though in the third act, so that's good too.
Is he doing a monologue?
Yeah, but sort of in his own Pete Holmes way. I don't think we're focusing so much on like topical stuff. I think it's going to be more like, I was at the zoo the other day, and then maybe doing a monologue on, something sort of general that is also observational.
So he's technically your boss? Yes, no?
Yeah, I guess. I don't necessarily think of it that way. I think of it as we're peers, but I think the host of any show is the boss.
Right. I'm just wondering how that works, like how you guys are working together since you're exes.
Oh, we've been friends longer than we dated, so it actually works really great. And we also worked on the reason really that we became friends. I think we would have become friends eventually anyway, but I think something that expedited us becoming friends was that we worked on a web series together when we were dating called Kid Farm, and then after we broke up, Kid Farm continued. We actually went from having an online pilot to getting a web series produced by Comedy Central, which was really great. So that forced us to work together again. And from there, we became friends again. So I think we actually were just very used to working together.
And now you are going to be doing Conan on September 26th.
I am.
That's exciting. Are you nervous?
I'm very nervous.
Is this your first late night thing like that?
It is my first late night thing. I've done stand-up on TV twice before. I did TV Guide stand-up in Stilettos, and I also did Last Comic Standing.
Which Last Comic Standing
The
season?
last season.
Who won that one?
Felipe Esparza.
Okay, I don't know why I asked, because I don't... Jeff Dye was not on that
Jeff
season,
Dye,
right?
I think, was one of the first seasons.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've done stand-up before on TV.
Edit
but
this out. Make me sound really informed, Gary. You can do that, right? He's shaking his head no, I know.
He's like, absolutely not.
So last season you were on.
Last season I was on. So, yeah, it doesn't make it any easier, I'm realizing. I mean, I think that deep down I'm like, oh, yeah, I mean, I've done this before. I can do it again. But it feels totally different because it's Conan, and I think he's so amazing, and I think the show is amazing, and I want to do a good job. I want to be liked.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I'm not even doing Conan. I want to be liked, and I want to be right.
I'm going to do such a good job on Conan that we're both going to be liked from my stand-up set.
you.
I'm doing it for
Aw,
us.
Do it for us.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
and me, Al. I got you covered.
Now, you were saying that there's not that many women in late night.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Expand on that.
Oh, I just feel like, I mean, I just think in general, there haven't been that many women to do stand-up on late night. I mean, I'm sure statistically I am correct. There are definitely more men than women, because there are a lot more men than women, I think, doing comedy.
Why do you
stand-up
think
comedy
that
in
is?
general.
That's something that comes up in my world quite a bit, that question and that whole
I
like
don't
men
even-
versus women in comedy, etc.
Yeah, I really try not to think about it, because I feel like somehow thinking about it makes it more real or something. And I feel like the more you think about it, the more you give power to it.
Right.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, it's just I hate to sound like I don't think about it more deeply, but it's kind of just the way it is, I guess.
Honestly, I had never really given it a lot of thought until I started on the Adam Carolla show, where it's a very people ask me that question a lot. What's it like being a female on the?
Well, this is like Dude Central.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess
is a little bit
more right. I'm more aware of it now, but just something that I realized recently. So I was going to do Doug Loves Movies, the podcast Doug Loves Movies, and this was the second time I was doing it. And the first time I did it, my friend was in the audience, and afterwards he's like, "You were good, but you totally let yourself get dominated by Bill Burr." Because Bill Burr, I guess, I thought we all kind of talked, an equal amount, but to someone in the audience, it was like I barely said anything compared to Bill Burr. So this time I was like, I don't want to let that happen. And I listened to the episode with Pete Holmes and TJ Miller and Jeff Garland, which was like, it was Doug, he chose the three most obnoxious guests and put beloved but obnoxious.
Of course.
Put them all on at the same time. Have you heard that episode?
No, I have not.
It is like a clusterfuck. Like
I'm
you
sure.
cannot hear, you can't even tell what anyone is saying because they're all talking at once.
Oh, yeah.
And yet it's funny. But this is what I was thinking. I was thinking there's no way a female could ever do that. Like, I cannot think of any female comedian or personality who would do that or could do that, would be allowed to do that and still be liked. There's something fundamentally so unfemale about doing that, I think. Like, even, take Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, Kathy Griffin.
Yeah, I was just thinking of them.
Even, someone who's considered, a pretty ballsy female, they just don't do that with their energy.
Yeah.
And they're talking. And I don't know what that is. I'm always thinking, kind of in any situation where there's a group, I'm thinking, am I talking too much? And are people beginning to dislike me because I'm inserting myself too much? Did I just speak over someone? Is everyone getting a chance to speak? Blah, blah, blah. And even if I've decided I don't give a fuck, I'm just going to, monopolize, which a lot of very short TV panel bits, you have to do that. Mm-hmm. It's just I'm going to be a raging asshole because I need it for my reel or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking like that. I don't necessarily think guys have that in their head, but I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I really don't think women are allowed to come out of the gate and talk over everyone in the same way that guys are. Then again, I think maybe like I was saying, there is just something so fundamentally unfemale about that as a culture we don't allow it, whereas there's probably something a guy could do that is so fundamentally like unmasculine that we wouldn't allow it. And I don't know what it is. Maybe like jumping up on a table and being afraid of a bug or just something where we're just like, we don't condone that.
Yeah. I mean, the example cited of Pete, TJ, and Jeff Garland. I mean, Pete and TJ have been friends so long, and they are such huge personalities. I almost feel like they're an extreme example, but I feel like I see what you're saying, and I do think that yes, I think you're definitely hitting on something very real. But I also think I'm like, if I was in that situation with them, I would probably back down. I'd probably be like, I don't know, like you guys you already have like this inherent connection. You've been friends so long, plus Jeff Garland, like, you know, take it away. But
yeah,
but I think I probably, again, you know, panel situations are always they make me very nervous. I just did a panel show that's going to premiere on MTV in December. Right now, I think it's called Epic Fail. I don't know what they're officially going to call it. But anyways, it was my first time doing panel for television. And, you know, a lot goes through your head, not even as a woman, but just in general of like, I don't want to step on this guy. I don't want, you know, like you're trying to create this natural dynamic and it feels very unnatural. But, you know, I did sort of force myself to like speak up more than I probably would have based on what you're saying too. I did have that natural like.
See, I just wonder if the guys in that situation have that natural feeling too.
You know what's funny? I get into this like reverse sort of. I almost do kind of I don't want to bulldoze anyone. I want it to feel like we're all contributing the same amount, because you know that someone's going to be like, whoever talks the most, they're going to be like, that guy was kind of annoying because he talked a lot.
The audience is going to be that way.
I feel
like the producers like that.
They maybe do. I think that's my fear, is that like the audience is like, well, that guy won't shut up. You know, let the others talk, or you know, maybe they don't see it that way. Maybe they're like, oh, that guy's really confident. But I just tried to chime in as much as I possibly could to make sure that I like got my jokes in and, you know, had a presence on there, because I did have a little bit of panic of like, oh, you know, I'm the only girl on the panel. You know that there's that guy in the crowd who's like, oh, they put a girl on the panel. You know, there's still that element of like having to prove yourself. But I really try never to think about it, because I do think that subconsciously not allowing yourself to think those thoughts, it makes you overcome whatever womanly vibe you're putting out there. I think you sort of do give off a more like masculine energy,
but
or
you
equal
probably
energy,
don't
rather.
ever do TV appearances when you have your period, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just
it's
the advice anyone will give.
I mean, of course. I mean, you gotta. I was about to be really gross.
Oh no, please! I like to be gross on the show.
I'm gonna say you gotta bleed it out before you go on the panel.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Okay,
well,
okay.
we don't have much time because you have to leave in a sec. But let's just quickly do just me or everyone. We'll just do a few.
Okay.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Give 'em Chris says, I forget how to write my signature after doing it 8 times in a row. Yes, my signature changes every single time, and it looks kind of like a squiggle at this point. Jamie, do you have this?
Yeah, I do. I don't even know how my signature evolved into what it is. It's not even letters. It's just a vibe that I put on paper.
Right.
So the vibe changes from, you know, the 7th to the 8th signature. I totally get it.
Newly One Love says, just me or everybody. Sometimes I feel guilty about the shape my car's in when I go to the mechanics, like I'm letting them down. I don't have that so much, but I do have general low car self-esteem, which is that I feel like people are going to judge me because my car is old and dented and has big scrapes on it. And actually, what my car looks like in my mind's eye, different than how my car looks in someone else's eyes. Sort of like my parents' old dog, Woofy, was very puppyish for the first, 15 years of his life. The last 2, he was very old. But I always I thought of him as a spry puppy. And then I'd see him and I'd be like, oh no, I forgot. You're all decrepit and you have some warts on you now and you're kind of blind. That's what my car looks like.
I'm driving a Rent-A-Wreck right now while I'm in Los Angeles. I've been renting from Rent-A-Wreck. I got in a wreck with my Rent-A-Wreck, so it already had.
Did you get the insurance? Had you had that?
I did, yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it looks like a piece of crap, and it looks like such a piece of crap that when I got in the wreck, you can't even tell that I was in a wreck. So it's kind of awesome in a way, but it's also very embarrassing.
Yeah.
What up, Nissan? Just shout out to Nissan.
Okay. The Vincent Low something, I don't know what the rest of your name is, says, is it me or everyone that I like the smell of the air that comes out of a rubber toy when you squeeze it? That's not me for sure.
Definitely not me.
Sounds disgusting. Yeah.
But I can also picture it. So maybe there is kind of like a reminiscent feeling that goes with
smell
that.
rubbery.
Yeah.
It was the Vincent Lopez.
Oh, there you go. Alana Carlin, I say bless you when a pet sneezes. Yes! I do that. When a dog sneezes around me, I say bless you. And
I've
also
never
I
done
say
that.
excuse me to dogs.
Oh, that's nice.
But not in a, I mean, it is nice, but then I'm like, they don't speak English.
Right. I say bye.
To dogs?
I say bye. Bye to animals in general.
Yeah.
Hi and
that's
bye.
nice. It's just polite.
Yeah. I think so.
Gary, do you talk to animals?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I'm wondering, do you say excuse me like after you sneeze or when you're like trying to walk past them?
After I fart.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, when I'm trying to walk past him.
Oh.
Like if Toby is blocking my way, I'll say, excuse me, Toby. And then I'm like, God damn it. He doesn't hear me. It's not
You never
working.
know. He might really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. I think let's do a real quick. This is I'm trying to cue. Yeah.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
Okay. Oh, God. Now I got to... Okay. This is a follow-up to an earlier Go Fuck Yourself, which you guys haven't heard. It's on the Mike Kaplan episode. I read the email from the guy who... so, Jamie, you might not know this, but at the beginning of the show, I'm always like, oh, hey, my little... And then I come up with some carbohydrate name.
Apple fritter.
Yeah.
I remember that from the Chelsea Peretti episode.
Did I actually use apple fritter?
I think you said apple fritter.
Okay, I
It was
guess
so
I did.
Cute. I
Thank
loved
you.
it.
Yeah, so it's just become like a pattern of a silly thing like that. And this one guy, though, can't stand that I address people that way because I'm not famous like Mariah Carey. She can give her listeners names.
She does that?
I don't think so.
What?
It's weird.
What's with the Mariah Carey?
Yeah, I thought it was weird
reference?
too. It's a long, hilarious email from the guy. It's like, I'm just a girl next door or someone's best friend, so where do I get off? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he wrote in again. Hello, my slice of lard best friend. Just wanted to tell you I enjoyed today's episode. What? Don't like being called a slice of lard? Well, guess what? Your listeners don't like being labeled gross foods, parentheses, Cinnabons. I've never used Cinnabons, by the way. Apple something, bread something or other. Did you know that thinking all your listeners have food issues like you makes you an extreme narcissist? Don't believe me? Just ask Dr. Drew. He will tell you the truth you apparently need to hear. Listen, you fuck idiot. Fuck idiot. I couldn't decide if I wanted to call him
No,
a
fuck idiot is great.
Listen, you fuck idiot. You fuck. I like fuck tard so much, and yet I feel like tard is
Right.
not approved anymore.
Right.
You fuck nut.
You fuck.
Listen,
I was gonna say
dude.
something even worse.
You know who's the narcissist and who's also not in reality? You! Who thinks that everyone has a problem with this silly thing that I call you, which has nothing to do with food issues. It's just a silly pattern which people tend to enjoy. But you think that I'm saying that you have food issues, you crazy, crazy, crazy man. And I realize, I hope you don't live anywhere near California because right now I'm kind of poking at the crazy bear. So please just... Maybe this whole thing is some elaborate performance art piece. I don't think it is. I think you're actually crazy. But please take this in the spirit it's intended, which is it's just a fun thing we're doing on the show. Please go fuck yourself. Also, this is like people saying they're upset with the way Adam signs off with mahalo because doesn't he realize they don't live in Hawaii? But if you have something else to say, write in. Okay. And hey!
Hey, go fuck yourself.
Okay. Got that off my chest.
You feel
My
good?
God, I feel better. It's
Good.
cathartic for me. I mean, I've never doubled up on someone, so I do feel like maybe I shouldn't draw attention to the crazies because I think he's probably crazy as opposed to just an asshole.
Right.
But I feel like the combination, it's manifesting as asshole, so I've got to call him out.
Yeah, I mean, who takes the time to send stuff like that to anyone?
I know, it's
I'm always
weird.
shocked by that.
Yeah.
I hate to call it the obvious, but it's like, what? I wish I had that kind of time to be like, what really grinds my gears, to use a Family Guy reference, is this one random podcast by, not that you're a random podcast,
No, I know
but
what
you
you
know what
mean.
I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have time. I mean, if I was offended by something, I'd be like, oh, that was kind of weird.
I think there's
that's all
kind
I
of-
would think. I'd be like, oh, that's kind of weird. But
Yeah.
I'm running to do something right now, like a job.
There's kind of an OCD quality of certain devoted listeners, which is like, oh, I just can't stand the way she
Right.
just pronounces that. Like, people can't stand the way when I say also, I tend to say, well, they say I don't pronounce the L. Maybe I
What?
don't. Maybe I
Say
say
it again.
also. Well, I overpronounce the L in my
Okay.
head. I said also, but I think normally if I'm saying it fast, I just say also.
Oh, interesting.
Which I never noticed, but it bugs the shit out of some
Oh,
people. It's just like
interesting.
their day would be fine, their life would be fine. They'd probably still be married if only I would say also.
Uh-huh.
Like people get so fixated.
Also.
Yeah. So fuck you. Anyway, you have to be on your way,
I
which makes me
do.
sad.
I know.
But thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, thanks
this was
for having
delightful.
me. Yeah, you're the best. Thank you.
And anything you want to plug? As we wrap this up?
I mean, I'll be doing stand-up on Conan on September 26th, which is a Wednesday, and I'm on Twitter a lot at the Jamie Lee.
The Jamie Lee.
Yep, TheJamielee.
Okay, and your website, Jamie Lee Comedy?
It's JamieLeeComedy.com. Yeah.
Okay, and you can follow me on Twitter at Alison Rosen. You can follow the show's Twitter feed at ARIYMBF. You can email the show, ARIYMBF@AdamCarolla.com. Leave us a comment on iTunes. Maybe we'll read it as an iTunes comment of the week. And don't forget to click 5 stars because you know that it makes me happy. And hey, are you going to buy something on... Did you know I could talk this fast?
I know, it's
didn't.
amazing.
I know.
I'm just putting my hands in my chin. I mean, my
Carnival
chin's in my hand.
Barker.
Like, wow.
I know. She can really talk
So
fast.
many words per minute.
If you're going to buy something on Amazon, which you know you are because they have everything, why not click the banner on my site, AlisonRosen.com, and then you buy whatever you're going to buy, and it costs the exact same for you, but it helps out the show, and that'd be nice. I like when you help out the show, and now I'm just talking. Okay, I love you guys. Have a good week, and I will see you next week, and thank you, Jamie.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Hey, do you know about the Alison Rosen show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go. Thank you for choosing the Alison Rosen show. Alison Rosen is your new best friend. That's right. That's right. Those good times don't seem
is Corolla Digital.